Satellite images reveal how the Israeli army has caused widespread destruction in more than a dozen villages across South Lebanon. This was the village of Aita al-Shab on September 26, and this is how it looked a month later. This is how the village Kafar Kila looked before and after the Israelis pressed into the south. An Al Jazeera analysis reveals how the Israeli army has entered at least 22 villages in the south and leveled or heavily damaged at least 18 of them. The result is that Israel's army has created a buffer zone almost free of buildings, extending an estimated 100 square kilometers. Many of these places have been inhabited for at least 2 centuries. We're talking about thousands of buildings wiped out and people's homes destroyed. The area has been the scene of heavy fighting since Israel sent troops into southern Lebanon in mid-September to secure its northern border against Hezbollah's rocket attacks. This was after a year of relatively low-intensity exchanges of fire. In the past month, Israel dramatically intensified its strikes across Lebanon, hitting the eastern Bekaa Valley, parts of Beirut and Lebanon's south, all areas where Hezbollah holds sway. The Israeli army says it aims at Hezbollah targets, saying that the group hides its fighters and stores its weapons inside civilians' houses, a claim that the group denies. But the amount of damage across villages and towns in the south have raised concern about the legality and the intent behind Israel's military strategy, suggesting a systematic approach aimed at clearing the area. Humanitarian law experts say that while civilian buildings can lose their protection during conflict, they can only be destroyed if it's absolutely necessary for military operations. And just because fighting happens nearby or weapons are stored nearby, it doesn't mean that these buildings can become targets. Once fighting is over, destroying entire villages or civilian property that used to have a military role is considered a war crime unless there is a valid reason. The Israeli army did not respond when Al Jazeera asked about the scale of destruction. Military experts also say that the level of destruction suggests that Israel is adopting the so-called scorched earth policy by destroying everything within an area to make it impossible for fighters there to survive and therefore strike back in the future. But that also means the land becomes unlivable for civilians and makes it practically impossible for them to return once the fighting is over. And that, experts say, suggests a more political dimension to what could be Israel's military strategy here. One that aims at cutting the bond between the Shia population and Hezbollah. This loyalty is considered one of the group's strongest assets.